Dear Vice President of Zuoz, dear President of Germany, dear friends and guests, welcome, good morning. It's a pleasure to start our Engadin Art Talks today. Since several years, there's always the question, how do you get to your topics? So I will now reveal the secret. Since several years, the curators of Engadin Art Talks, E.A.T, Christina, Daniel, Hans-Ulrich, and I gather during the Saturday lunch break of the talks in order to decide about next year's topic. It's a pleasant little ritual, playful and spontaneous around the wooden table, critically observed by mighty antlers on the walls. Daniel brings an idea, E.A.T shuffles it around, I drop it under the table, Hans-Ulrich picks it up again, Christina adds another one, Daniel has to interrupt for a phone call, E.A.T needs to feed her dog Schnapsi, until Christina reminds us that the afternoon talks start in 10 minutes and we need to get to the point and decide about a new topic. That's the secret. This ritual even works in bad weather. 2 years ago, we could not gather in Zuoz and we had to stream from the lake of Zurich. Why did we choose the topic hope a year ago, last January? We are living in times of change and uncertainty. On the one hand, we aimed at stepping out of the prevalent mood of fear, despondency, and aggression that was and is typical for this time we're in. We also wanted to avoid the roundtable speak, urgency, diversity, resilience. These issues, these titles, these topics are relevant and timely, but because so many politicians, journalists, and managers are constantly taking them into their hands and mouths, these notions, from the viewpoint of art, have become blurred and overexploited. Zuoz is not Davos. We are high in the Swiss Alps, but we do not pretend to have an overview. We don't claim to be in a position to speak about something while being stuck in it. Words and images are drivers of artistic imagination. These words and images are both fragile and powerful. The notion of hope relates to our confidence in artists as particularly creative and basically optimistic members of our societies. Now, perhaps the choice was also the result of the time pressure of our literal ritual. Hope, hope resonates with the Swiss-German hop, hop. Go ahead, move on, get to the point, the afternoon program is about to start. And in fact, one hypothesis about the origin of the English word hope and the German word Hoffnung is that they root in the Middle German word hoppen, erwartungsvoll hüpfen, to hop around in expectation. This etymology is very unlikely, but nice. It is way more plausible that the word Hoffnung was imported into German in the Middle Ages by English and Irish missionaries. In other words, hope is mainly a religious concept. We find it in antiquity, notably in the Roman virtue spes, personification of the hope for prosperity, hope for freedom and a better future. But the strongest impact of the notion of hope is through the Christian church, where faith, hope, and love, Glaube, Liebe, Hoffnung, are the key theological virtues. They are not norms, but attitudes or drivers, basis for a morally good life. All hope, abandon ye who enter here, stands over the gates of hell if we follow Dante Alighieri's Divina Commedia. Hope has no function in hell, a place that is out of reach of God. No wonder that the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche disqualified hope and writes in Human, All Too Human, quote, "Hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man." In Nietzsche's view, hope is related to doubt and illusion. In the tradition of Karl Marx, on the other hand, hope continues to be a fruitful concept. The most prominent protagonist of this thinking is Ernst Bloch, whose The Principle of Hope, published in the 1950s in 3 volumes, was a crucial reference for the students' movement of 1968 and continues to be a point of reference. This is Max Bill, Endlose Treppe, Monument für Ernst Bloch, 1991, in Bloch's hometown, Ludwigshafen. Now, unlike during the period of the Renaissance or Baroque, this is a fresco, a painting by Raphael, and unlike the beginning of the 20th century, this is Gustav Klimt, Die Hoffnung, Kuno Amiet, Die Hoffnung. Hope is rare as a topic in contemporary art. I found this image by the artist Barbara Kruger. Religion is a terrain that contemporary artists, at least those in the Western mainstream, tend to avoid. There is an affinity to the spiritual, the esoteric, and there is critical interest in religious institutions. However, religious art stands at the margins of contemporary art canon. The reason goes back to the need for artistic autonomy. At the beginning of what we call modernity, artists aims at liberating themselves from the yoke of the church and the crown, from clerical and secular power. And this is a painting from this time, early 19th century, Caspar David Friedrich, Das Eismeer, which is traditionally known as Die gescheiterte Hoffnung. But concepts have a longue durée, a long duration. They can change over time. They travel, as the art historian Mieke Baal puts it. Hope and utopia are close to each other. And the starting point of Engadin Art Talks more than a decade ago was the reference to the utopian projects such as Alpine Architektur of the Gläserne Kette in the early 20th century. So when we now reactivate the notion of hope, we wish to experiment with such a long durée concept. Can it serve as a meeting ground? Will it open new doors? Let's hope. Thank you.